Hey, it's Yash, and in this lesson we're going to talk about using Ocean.io for company lookalikes in Clay. Now, there's two places you can use company lookalikes in Clay. One is as an enrichment on existing lists of companies, which is what we often recommend. And the other is just to start with lookalikes as a source. We'll quickly cover how to use lookalikes as a source before jumping into how to use it in an existing table. First, I would click on the Ocean.io integration in our sources modal, select the Clay account, and input a max of 10 possible domains if I wanted to start my list with some core companies. We're not going to go through the sources modal in detail because it's very similar to the one that you're going to see in the table, and you would basically start your list with lookalikes here instead of lookalikes in the table. But the whole point of lookalikes is to find lookalikes to your existing companies. And since the process is the same, we're going to go back to the workbook we've been using in all these lessons where we found companies and people and add lookalikes there. So let's go ahead and on our Find Companies tab here, add the lookalikes integration into our table. When adding the integration, it's worth noting that the primary difference here is that you start with a list of maybe 10 companies max and then get 100 lookalikes in your source. In the table, however, I'm going to find at least 10 lookalikes for every single one of these 162 companies, which is going to give me at least 1,620 lookalikes, maybe a few of which are going to be duplicates, but still far better as an actual top of funnel source. Now, to kick off our lookalike search, I'm going to go ahead and choose company domain as my lookalike source. And note that I could also add a bunch of other variables here. I could add specific domains I want to exclude from my lookalikes. I could add specific countries. For example, if I want all of my lookalikes to be in the United States, I can specify that here. Since this list is a list of companies from New York, I'm also going to further specify to only look for companies based in New York. This was also a list of companies with over 200 employees, so I'll ensure that my lookalikes list stays within that company size range. I didn't add any keywords or technologies to this list, so I'm going to go ahead and keep those blank. I'm going to also bypass these e-commerce filters, and I also want to look maybe only within the software industries for my lookalikes. I'll pick both consumer and enterprise software to keep it broad and open-ended. Now that I've set all my filters in my lookalikes modal, I'll continue to add fields without making any further modifications. I'm just going to go ahead and click Save and Run on the first 10 rows in Clay here, and then watch lookalikes work their magic. Now, you can see from our results here, we're starting to get a list of actual lookalike companies. Notice that it caps at 10 per company due to the limitations of Ocean.io itself, but from that list of 10 companies, we've already got at least 90 plus, probably hundreds actually, as this entire table is running, of potential lookalike companies. You can see also I get a bunch of data about each of the lookalike companies here, as well as information about the companies themselves. Now, this data isn't super useful in the format that it's currently in. Having 7 to 10 companies in one Clay cell is not ideal. What we actually want is to have each of these companies in a separate row of data. We're going to cover this more deeply in another video called Write to Table, because Write to Table is what Find Companies and Find People are doing. But we'll show it really quickly right here. So in this case, we don't have an existing table we want to write to. We'll go ahead to our Write to Table integration and write to a new table. In writing to our new table, we're just going to create one. It'll automatically populate in our workbook right from Find Companies, and we'll go ahead and pick the lookalikes list to write items from. You'll notice once you pick that list, you'll be able to add different values from your Ocean.io Find Company lookalikes by simply selecting the value from your lookalikes list, let's say company name at least, and adding new column names for each of those variables. So we'll go ahead and add company name, we'll add company domain, and we'll probably add at least company headcount industry, because that's what we were looking for in this initial list as well. Now, once we've got all of our write to table values populated in the new table that we want to write to, the other unique thing about lookalikes in particular is that we probably want to still maintain the original relationship to the company that we sourced our lookalike value from. So what I'm going to do for that is come down to this add other data from this table button and then just select the actual raw company value that we created this lookalike from. And I'm going to create that as a new column in our final write to table. Go ahead, click Save and Run, and then watch as write to table works across your entire column and then populates all of your lookalike companies as their own separate rows in your brand new write to table. Here you can see we've got all of our lookalike company names in our first column, their respective domains, their headcounts, and their industries. And then we've also got their source lookalike company name here in the final column on the right. Now, from here, we would probably want to deduplicate this list because it's possible that we found the same lookalikes across different companies in our rows. We're going to go ahead and turn on auto dedupe by domain to remove redundant values. We'll click on the domain column, hit the dedupe button, and turn on, you can see all the duplicates detected here, to delete 202 duplicate rows. We could even go ahead and add a lookup to ensure that none of the lookalikes were already in the original list, but the auto dedupe feature, voila, has now simplified our list down to a real, raw, original list of lookalikes that we can use. The last point we'll cover from a strategic standpoint is that we often see people use company lookalikes to double down on what they already know. One of our favorite examples is to take your existing successful customers and find the closest lookalikes to them. Further segment those customers into categories that they belong to because you know you already serve people who look like them really well. Let's say, for example, you've got a bucket of customers that are all marketing agencies. Make a list of only those marketing agencies, find lookalikes relevant to them, and use compelling copy that references what you've already done for your existing customers. Maybe even mention your existing customers that resemble those companies to increase your targeting effectiveness and the likelihood of a response in your direct outreach. That's everything we've got for company lookalikes. Let's move on along to find job sources and enrichments in Clay.